Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Hello.
And hello, my name is Bartłomiej Biga, and I'm proud member of Open Eyes Economy Movement. And I'm thrilled because today we got very interesting conference, digital media, opportunities and threats. We got a lot of things to discuss. We got wonderful speakers. We got very interesting plan. So I hope that you stay with us and I hope that you will participate as well because we need your questions, we need your comments. So if you want to ask something, if you want to write something, we really wait for that. I think that you know that we are enthusiasts of new technologies. We believe that they make our life more convenient. However, even maybe it is more important, they are also our hope to solve many global problems. Nevertheless, we are aware of many dangers too. We have to find solutions for individuals, for society, and of course for the digital media branch itself. And this is why we want to meet today and discuss these very important issues. We also want to talk about non-obvious business models. We want to talk about non-obvious use of intellectual property because this kind of management could provide some solutions, very effective solutions. I believe that it could be very profitable and it could be a better business strategy for many, many companies, especially for companies in digital media branch. Today we are in the framework of Małopolska Open Eyes Economy Hub. This event is organized as a promotion of firm ideas from Małopolska region. This project is co-financed by European Union from the European Regional Development Fund. And this project, Małopolska Open Eyes Economy Hub, is designed to support companies from Małopolska region if they want to develop and export operations and build a position abroad. We want to help them, and we believe that it's possible and it can be made very fast. Today's program is addressed especially for small and medium companies from Małopolska. Today and in this project, we focus on two industries: creative industries and leisure time, and information and communication technologies. This is why we meet. This is why we got finance to do that. So thank you very much for this support. Today we got two blocks, two parts of this conference. First is discussion, first is inspiration, first is about case studies, and second part is about cooperation between Poland and Austria, between Małopolska companies and other countries. But it will be after in the afternoon. Now we want to focus on something different. What is our first lecture during this conference? It's threats in the digital media. This lecture is prepared by Dobromir Ciaś, HNPD. I would like to ask you to present your point of view, your initial remarks and your point of view. And after that, we are going to discuss with companies from Poland. They reveal their point of view. And after that, we want to compare that, discuss. And of course, as I said, we are waiting for questions from our audience. Okay, let me introduce our first speaker. Dobromir Ciaś is the founder of HNPD, a European-based retail tech company that helps companies in maximizing return from retail space, trade, pricing, and promotion activities. Dobromir studied mathematical sociology at Warsaw University and quantitative methods at Warsaw School of Economics. As a mature entrepreneur with over 18 years of experience, he combines business, technical, and sociological knowledge to lead one of the most innovative companies in the retail industry. After this introduction, our hope is very strong, and the floor is yours. Dobromir, please make your speech.
Thank you very much. I hope you're doing fine today. I'll be talking about threats in the digital media. Indeed, my origins of my business comes from the retail, and I started my work analyzing customer behavior in actually retail spaces. As my company still does that kind of job, but it extended very much to the e-commerce sphere and analysis of internet traffic. And there are some experiences that I want to share with you, because internet traffic is, of course, digital media. It's everything that goes with advertising, online shopping, but it's a much wider, actually, phenomenon that also affects public sphere. And by threat in the digital media, I want to actually I want to actually concentrate on the phenomenon of disinformation. So you see, as a company, we have contact with two spheres of disinformation: the advertising world, which is, of course, an interesting part for entrepreneurs, for people who lead companies. And what we do right now, we are investigating internet traffic in terms of bots and trolls. I will tell you more about this. And there is another side of the coin, disinformation in political world. We are an official supplier to NATO. We work for U.S. Department. We have also cooperations with some of the NGOs that deal with this kind of problem. Oh, this is myself in the European Parliament speaking about disinformation prior to the parliamentary elections last year. We are analyzing internet traffic in both spheres, and disinformation is something that really affects. I want to convince you that it is a serious threat in both areas, in political world, social world, as well as in advertising world. Well, there are three key elements of the disinformation. As we can see, it affects companies or political parties or societies. Well, first of all, you could see a false and fake narrative related to your company, for instance, or a false narrative related to a specific thread related to the policy. Well, it rarely happens that you can see fake news on the popular portal. Usually, fake news is created in a way that you cannot see it instantly. For instance, when I refer to the political side, well, most of the Russian disinformation related to Poland during COVID-19 was, for instance, or many threats were visible not directly in Poland, but in other countries, like in Italy. There was a lot of fake news related to the fact that Polish customs are taking over the medical supplies that goes from Russia to Italy, or the Poland is, for instance, closing the air borders for the humanitarian aid that comes from Russia to Italy, and so on, so on. So it's since in nowadays in a modern world, the news can be geo-targeted. It's often the case that you cannot actually see who stabs you in the back, and it has a very intense consequences on your brand equity. The second thing is internet traffic. So if we look at this disinformational side, I would say that it's even more important than the fake news, because there are so many technologies and techniques to spread the news. I'll tell you a very simple example. When Facebook transmitted mass killings in mosque in New Zealand, it was obviously immediately removed from the internet, but in about 2 months, there was about 250 million copies of that movie found on the internet by different secret forces. So internet traffic is really something that can be very much manipulated and taken to the level that makes a fake news visible. And the third pillar of disinformation are user comments. So we have a lot of trolling, a lot of bot trolling currently. There are some techniques of massive manipulation that allows you to create a feeling that there is a crowd behind some kind of movement. And since people are very conformist about their opinions, they see that things actually happen on the net, and they change their attitudes. It's a very effective disinformation strategy, and we actually deal with all of these elements. So, speaking of content of articles and fake news, what we are doing right now, we are actually scraping and getting all the current articles, and we are looking for different sources of fake news. It can also be connected with looking for fake news related to companies or fake news related to countries. We have technologies for going through user comments. We cooperate with the biggest publishers in the region, so we get some of the comments. Some of the comments are the comments that we need to obtain through our technologies and do some behavioral analysis on that. So it means that we do scoring whether the comment was created by bot or it maybe was created by a living user. So this is a part of the scoring. And there is also, let's say, pure internet traffic analysis that allows us to see whether the article and the viewership of the articles is a effect of actual readership, or it's maybe some element of positioning the article in false context by some mechanisms. I want to show you some examples in the public world of the findings or the job we are doing on the very simple level. This is one of our research works that resulted in a comment and reaction of Ambassador Mosbacher. So this is Ambassador Mosbacher, the ambassador of U.S. ambassador in Poland. And our job was actually, the effect of our job is detection of Chinese bot network. And the Chinese bot network was emphasizing everything that Chinese are doing in the region just to build up their, the narratives. So we are able to do network analysis where you see Liu Guangliang. This is the Chinese ambassador. There's a network of trolls, and here is Georgette Mosbacher. And how does it really work? If you look at the anyone, any brand, or any person, you could see that it is possible to increase the visibility of something or someone on the net. And you could see how fast it goes in the network, and we could see that this is the effect of a traffic generated not really organically, but generated by bots. You see the characteristic of the comments related to help from China. Help, which was basically had some bad comments afterwards, but when it actually occurred, we see that there are hundreds and hundreds of different accounts created at the time of the entire let's say period of action of China. So the accounts created on March 2020. And these accounts, you might wonder why these accounts were created. many accounts were created and was geolocated from in Małopolska region. And you might wonder why it happened, why these false accounts are created on Twitter. And the reason is obvious. The reason of building fake accounts is to build a rank of different narratives on the Twitter, so that different narratives are suggested for the user. It's better. It gains better visibility. More and more people could see that on the web, and it affects emotions. It affects attitudes. You could see the tracking of sentiments that we do. Tracking of sentiment means that we are checking not only popularity of different threads, but also how people react to these threads. And you see that at the time of bot attacks, the sentiment started to be is positive at 2 points of attacks. Well, there are many cases of disinformation currently, and use of these mechanisms to change attitudes. And we have many examples of these. You see about most popular about vaccines. You see a lot of disinformation about COVID-19. But actually, in most of the cases, most of the political cases, and big also advertising activities, I can assure you that there are disinformation activities from bots, trolls, fake traffic, or fake narratives. 73% of Europeans, they are afraid of manipulation and disinformation on the internet. And I can tell you that one of the heuristics, one of the strategies of average people who are trying to, really tell the difference between opinions and the facts, is that they are checking whether some kind of a fact is visible in multiple places on the internet. So, this is a quite obvious answer on how these techniques work. If you make something visible on multiple places, people will think this is true. And there is another side of the coin. There is an advertising market, which now worldwide has 280 billion of euro. This is the worth net of this market, and 55 billion of euro in Europe. And this is more than the budget of Poland. This is more than military budget of China. So there is a lot of temptation to steal from this. And the biggest fraud market in the world is narcotics. And guess what is the second biggest fraud market in the world? The second one is advertising fraud. The worth of advertising fraud is 50 billion euro right now, which makes it the biggest financial bubble one of the biggest financial bubbles in the world. And a lot of companies make money from stealing budgets from advertisers. And a lot of companies are money laundering by using fake traffic on the campaigns. There are about 20,000 of different entities taking part of internet advertising technologies, because right now the advertising technologies are very complicated. There are a lot of sites participating: DSPs, DMPs, SSPs. So there's a huge environment of companies taking part of this, and each of the company taking part in advertising market can actually increase the traffic by using bots or artificial traffic technologies. If we look at statistics taken directly from Google, look, there are over last year there was over 2 billion of fake ads taken from the Google network. There was more than 1 million dishonest advertisers, which accounts were taken off the Google environments. There are more than 600,000 dishonest publishers that were taking off their accounts were blocked, and over 1.5 million of removed apps from from the App Store, from Play Store of Google, that created false traffic. If we look at fake accounts, for instance, last year, Facebook removed over 2 billions of accounts. Can you imagine this? How many accounts are actually fake on Facebook? How many accounts are created? You think that your advertising campaigns are actually viewed by the real people, but it's, it could be false accounts as well. So there's a lot of concern on the market. This is Mark Pritchard, who literally said no to the advertising market. He said, as soon as it doesn't go in the right direction, we're not going to spend money in a digital market. This is the same story with Keith Wee. This is CMO of Unilever. He said bots and trolls will not eat too much of Ben Jerry's. Right? We need to defend good players and good advertisers from the bots and trolls market. There are some new codes of practices related to disinformation that really gather those two elements: the disinformation in the advertising world and disinformation in political world. So there are some parties that already signed, but it's worth that you also know about this, that this code of practice is visible. What is possible to do from the point of view of the advertiser, from the point of view of entrepreneur, is really not turning a blind eye on this phenomenon, because it affects societies, it affects business, and a lot of your advertising budgets will be stolen if you don't act actively. And this is actually the technology that we made in strict cooperation with Google. So that's why we are one of the 38. We're one of 38 auditors of internet traffic in this advertising area. We are able to take the technology on the level of advertising online and instantly say whether we have bots or living traffic connected to the advertising. We can exactly tell what is the source of the bad traffic. We can immediately track down individual bots and then block the false traffic. If we look at the statistics related to types of campaigns, well, in overall, there are between, at least in our region, between 70 and 20% of fake traffic in overall. So if you look at your advertising budget, about 15%, 17% of that would be probably the money which was stolen directly from your company. So there are three simple words. There are three simple answers on how we should cope with the problem. First of all is education. A lot of countries in Scandinavia introduce programs that are focused on training even children at schools on how to tell the difference between fact or opinion. We need to know what is going on internet, as over 50% of traffic right now, over 50% of traffic is now not generated by humans, but it's generated by bots. It's generated by actually mechanisms. So we need to know that. We need to be aware. Cooperation is important between technological companies and advertisers, between publishers and between ad networks, and of course counteracting by using the right tools and by using technologies that allow you to eliminate the fake traffic and work to the benefit of the business and work to the benefit of the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very interesting speech. I hope we are going to come back to these issues when there will be time for discussion. But now I want to move to our discussion panel. This is some kind of strange discussion panel because first I want to ask our speakers to present something, and after that we are going to discuss. Of course, we are still waiting for questions from our audience. If you want to ask something, feel free. We are very waiting for that. The title of this discussion panel is Non-Obvious Business Models with Digital Content, Good Practices. We believe that this traditional way to earn money from your business is very hard to conduct. We believe that sometimes you have to follow an obvious path. You have to find something which is silly, which does not follow common wisdom, rather is something unique, something, let's say, innovative. And we really believe that this is the future, because when you do what everybody do, it's very risky, because when crisis came, then can be very, very dangerous for your company. So let me introduce our second speaker. It's Katarzyna Kanter from Escadra Creative Agency. Hello.
Hello.
Katarzyna is copywriter and Doctor of Humanities. She worked on projects awarded in the Kreatura and Złoty Spinach competitions. For over 4 years, she is associated with the Krakow Escadra Group. We cooperate with our Open Eyes Economy project. We really appreciate your help and your creativity. Please tell us something, what you do and why is it important?
Okay. I would like to tell you a story about the project, which is very important from my point of view. I work on it since 2 years, together with my colleagues from Escadra and with the Foundation of Economy and Public Administration. We worked together doing things for a whole year and preparing ourselves to Congress in Athens. I would like to start from the quote. This is the quote from an article of Professor Jerzy Hausner, and I think it tells us a lot about OS, about present situation. We are at a crucial turning point. We face challenges and threats related to the shortage of traditional raw material resources, ongoing ecological disasters, climate changes, social disturbances caused by the wealth gap and the clash of cultures, and threat of closing the borders that are open today to the trade and exchange of thoughts. Our society, our political and intellectual leaders have no answer to the question of how to face the future. As you can see, the situation described in the article, in the quote, is very similar to our present situation. And we could ask how is it possible that the conspiracy theory supporters haven't figured out yet that there is something here, how Jerzy Hausner found out that the future will be hard and we will be faced this kind of problems. But of course, this is only the black sense of humor. I just wanted to say that the Open Eyes Economy movement from the beginning was created as a movement for very hard times. It was created as a movement for crisis. And we can say that in this time, Open Eyes Economy is important more than ever. We need it more than ever. We need something which will help us to face the hard reality. But on the other hand, we have a normal event organizers, or we have big congress in Athens with 3,000 participants last year. So a very big logistic challenge for the Foundation of Economy and Public Administration and for us as Escadra Advertising. So I would like to talk about things on the about the connection of values and logistics, I can say. And here are the cases we worked together for the last few months since the beginning of the pandemic. The first case is the Idea Stop, the initiative which started in the city and is very closely connected to the city. It was designed as a pop-up place, the place where people can meet and talk about common values, the civic consciousness, ecology, social responsibility, culture, art, and all the things connected to open-eyes economy. And we wanted to make it open to bottom-up initiatives. So the space which is open, which is very mobile, and which doesn't have any constant address. So the meetings can be organized in a lot of interesting places in Krakow. So initiative without an address, with one quite constant address in the post-industrial complex in Dolne Młyny in Krakow. Here you can see the pictures from the opening of the stop. As you can see, this is some kind of cafe, of a place where people can traditionally sit and talk. And what happened after COVID-19? We can say that very fast we had to transform the very city event into something virtual. And we can say that it was a very smooth process. From the beginning of the pandemic, we've organized several editions of the Idea Stop. The formula, online streaming meetings with very vivid live chats and with participants, as we today, who connect with Stop from their homes or are present in the space of Dolne Młyny. So it is probably the most interesting episode of Idea Stop. We're talking about new reality of education, and we can say that the topic and the place were very adequate because the space of the discussion was a scan of the cafe in Dolne Młyny, prepared especially for this meeting. So we had a discussion about virtual reality in a virtual reality. And here we've got a little summary of topics, not all topics, but we can see very brightly, I hope, that the topics like pandemic or panic, recipe for the economy, or solidarity test, or culture makes a man, touches key social and economic problems of the pandemic, and this is very characteristic for all the initiatives because all of them are very connected to the most important problems. And here we've got a little statistics showing how good we did, because the time was very short, and I guess we can see it as a big success to achieve, for example, over 300,000 total reach of the event, or unique users, over 50,000 unique users. So we are glad, and we hope that it will develop in the future. And the next case, probably my favorite case, are alerts. Alerts are a very specific form of publications because it is a reaction. On the beginning of the pandemic, we had a lot of questions, a lot of problems. We wanted to know what to think about, and Professor Jerzy Hausner asked a simple question. How does the developing pandemic affect various areas of life? And we can say that this project is the fruit of this question. Professor invited invited scientists, specialists from very various areas to cooperate, to work together, and they made such a short, compact diagnosis published as PDF documents, and they are published. They are published for free and available for everyone. And what is the most amazing thing in the whole initiative? The topics touching again economic, education, social problems, medicine, health, or for example businesses. So this alert touches the most important questions of our present situation. And the process of preparing it was amazing, in my opinion. 55 alerts, 8 teams of people connecting via internet, connecting via emails, working together for a few months and communicating very, very smoothly. So alert is for me a very big logistical challenge, and I think we can be very satisfied with the effect of our efforts. The next very important project in the Open Eyes Economy movement is the cycle of last lecture of Professor Hausner. The title is very symptomatic. It's never been a utopia. As we can hear, it is about specific connection between theory and practice, because professors' guests were marketers, scientists, businessmen, people who do things in the spirit of economy of values. And we wanted to show that this is not only an academic theory, it is very vivid and very real movement. So the fact is that it is very rare opportunity in Polish academic life, I guess. Maybe it went more popular after COVID pandemic, but what was started in a university hall was transferred very smoothly and fast to the network. We promoted the lectures in social media using a lot of tools, and we reached almost 50,000 participants. So I guess it's more than any university hall can in any university hall. So here are a little bit of statistics again, and the last case is speaking openly. The cycle of virtual discussions with the partners and ambassador of the Open Eyes economy, carried by present here Bartłomiej Biga, and it were also inspirational case studies about ethical business, ecology and economy, sometimes culture as well, and we also we can see the topics here. Does eco pay off? Naturally responsible businesses. Does development have to involve solidarity? So very open eyes style topics, I guess. And again, we can see here a few numbers: total reach, unique users, minutes displayed. I guess we can be happy with that. We can treat it as a little success of our works. And here, I would like to say about probably most important things in this whole story, the common features, because the very characteristic thing is that all the initiatives were very social engaged. The main feature is the responsibility and the focus to the most important problems of our present society. We can also say that this is a great success because we connected several dozen speakers, including biggest names in Polish economy, politics, art, and definitely we reached big numbers. Our statistics are good, and with relatively low financial investments. And we managed to deal with record deadlines, and definitely this kind of initiatives is a kind of cure for fake news and the clickbait culture, because for me and probably for all of you, the disinformation, the problems with finding good, valuable content was one of the most painful sides of the pandemic. So we can say that everything we did for these last 3 months was something like a contrast to the whole media culture. We wanted to give people something valuable, something true, and something which is they can rely on in the categories of truth and scientific facts. So speaking about our experiences, we can say that we managed to deal with a lot of challenges, the short time, a lot of new technologies which were available before the pandemic, but we had to learn to use them very fast. Definitely the problem was also graphics on the beginning, but very fast we started to prepare them in a more professional way. We've learned all the time from each other, from our co-workers. And definitely we built a new kind of connections with our publicity, with our audience, through chats, through moderating events, through using a lot of new tools which we were not using before. And what can I say? There were a lot of we dealt with a lot of hard situations, and we were in a very we felt a lot of tension, but the lessons we had is very useful, because the biggest challenge of this year is before us, the 5th edition of Open Eyes Economy Summit 2020, and it will be organized in the hybrid formula. So we can use the experience from the internet, from the pandemic, and connect with the experience we already have, and create an event which is a little bit real and a little bit virtual. So we feel prepared for the challenges of Atom, and we invite you to Open Eyes Economy Summit, the 5th edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You said that Open Eyes Economy can be seen as a solution, as a therapy. It was brilliant. Thank you very much for these words. I believe
Thank you very much.
Values, and I believe that inspiration can be a cure, because we really need that. Sometimes we need real actions, but before that we need some consideration, some inspiration, as I said. Okay, let me introduce our next speaker. It's Mateusz Mleczko. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah, I can
Uh,
hear you.
that's great. Mateusz is the head of the Multi-Lab Studio, Krakow Technology Park. He is post-production supervisor. He is co-organizer of the Shake Digital Art Festival. He is graduated from University of Science and Technology. After hours of works with his voice as voiceover, he recently also discovered something which is very strange for me, but I know that it's very important for many people, the Star Trek series. It's your new some kind of point of interest. Okay, I would like to ask you to present your point of view, to present your experience with values and this approach at your company, in your company, please.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be here as a part of the Open Eyes online conference. And as Bartłomiej said, I'm Mateusz Mleczko, and I'm a supervisor of post-production and also manager of Multi-Lab in Krakow Technology Park. So let's see what I'm going to talk about. So basically, in the beginning, I would like to introduce ourselves. I will talk shortly about our projects. I will tell shortly about our recent post-production, which happened during the lockdown. Then I will go to our non-obvious services. And in the end, I'll try to say some words about benefits, maybe some possible benefits from the lockdown, which can occur, and also maybe share some tips or some remarks that I managed to write down, and from my perspective, from my point of view, from what I've heard talking with companies, and from our experience we had during the past month. So let's see who we are. So as I said, mainly our main focus and our main service is dealing with post-production. We're doing the whole process. We have all our own cinema room with color correction station. And as a curiosity, I'd like to ask that if you will ever have an opportunity to come to Krakow Technology Park building, please come inside and see the hall, because it's really something remarkable to see the light bulbs, over 1,500 light bulbs hanging from the ceiling above your head. So just call me and I will show you the way. It's really something worth to see. But let's go next. And so basically our projects, here you can see some of them listed out. Maybe some of them you already know. The one that I would like to shortly talk about is the first one. So Xabo, the documentary about Father Boniecki. Well, it was something new for us, especially in terms of post-production, because everything was happening during the lockdown. So normally during the process of post-production, we have an opportunity to meet with the director itself, with DOP, with colorists, and so on, and production managers as well, and talk about the things, about the process, about the what we have to do in the next steps. This time, of course, as normally as well, but with more attention. More attention was paid to the contact. Everything was double checked. Everybody had to know everything all the time. So it was quite a challenge to make sure that everybody who was working from their homes or maybe from their offices were all the time present, kind of virtually in the studio to see what's going on with their film. So in the end, we managed to finish the movie. It was presented during the Krakow Film Festival this year. So about a month ago, it had its own premiere. And well, as just to mention, Krakow Film Festival is normally a film festival that occurs, of course, with the people in cinemas or in the halls and having meetings and conferences and so on, everything was done really smoothly, and they changed, they moved everything to the internet. However, they didn't lose any participants, I would say. Even more, what to add is that they acquired some new guests, some new people who were interested in the films, and maybe through this hybrid kind of media, maybe in the future, I mean the hybrid online and also the traditional way of making the festival, maybe something new will come out with it with new benefits. Right. So going to our non-obvious services. So as I said, we are basically dealing with post-production. This is our main service. This is our main business model. But since we are a part of Krakow Technology Park, which also serves as a place to rent offices for different companies from various new technology sites, from various new technology initiatives. Therefore, we as multi-lab studios, so as I said in the beginning, I marked in on the title slide, multimedia laboratory. We are trying to make ourselves as a hub, as maybe a home, a comfortable place for people who are interested, who work in digital media industry, in film industry, maybe in 3D graphics. Also, we cooperate with some people from game industry as well. So it's kind of various people that we meet every day, and we're kind of proud of it. It's not like it's our main focus, but it's something really important for us as well, standing next and equally to the post-production itself. So I said about creating kind of a hub. So what does it mean? For example, we were sharing our spaces. We rent our spaces to help people organize workshops from 3D graphics, for example, for filmmakers, even for colorists. Also, we very often we're trying to make partnership with different festivals, art festivals or film festivals. As Bartłomiej said in the very beginning, we are also co-organizing the digital art festival called Shake. Hopefully, we will be able to organize it as well this year, this October. Well, who knows? We will see what will happen from it. Maybe we will try to think about an online version of it, but we strongly hope that everything will be able to, that we will be able to organize it on the site. What is more, we have also a green screen studio. So in this place, you can run. You can have a place to create a small advertisement. Especially, we are very proud that this is a place that many companies actually from Krakow, but also from different cities, are coming and shooting their own advertisements, especially food commercials. I think that's about it. So let's go next. As I said, basically the lockdown was a very difficult time for us, for everybody of us. I must admit. So as we are working together with different companies in Krakow Technology Park, I could see how actually, especially two things emerged, two new ideas emerged in two companies. So the first one, which you can see on the left side, actually, is a small case study from Very Live Studio. they are a company that actually they're producing the equipment, they're creating equipment. They're giving the equipment necessary for the fairs and for the conferences, and also they are responsible for creating all the content for companies. However, since everything was cancelled during the lockdown, they had to find a new way, and therefore they used as many tools as they have, as many technology as they have, and they can provide, and they moved to online. So they use actually our green screen studio to provide something new, a new product, and started with it, and it's going better and better. They also establish a kind of second thing as a multimedia studio with a LED panel, which you can see on the second below photo on the left side. The second thing, the second case that I wanted to talk about is from Piloci Studio, which we also kind of co-worked with them during the past months, and they also had to cancel some of their works, especially with creating advertisements or with creating art, digital content for example, for concerts. So they started to work on a solution which is quite new, I would say, especially in Krakow. I'm not sure about how vividly present is it in the whole Poland, but something like this you could see in the Mandalorian series. So creating an environment for an actor for the scene in 3D using Unreal Engine, and then implementing it on the LED wall, and also co-working, or rather programming it everything with a film camera, which is integrated in the whole system. It's kind of a neat solution, I would say. We already had a small showcase for film industry in Krakow, and I'm really hopeful to see what will come of it next. So, as I said, benefits, they are possible during lockdown. Maybe the difficult situation is enhancing people to think differently, to think in other ways that were not possible previously, and exchanging their experiences, finding a new ways, maybe not just to survive this difficult situation from business perspective, but also to let's say open eyes and see more, to broaden their horizons of services. So, kind of summing up about the situation with lockdown. So, from my perspective, from our perspective as a studio, as a post-production studio, I think that what is necessary for the upcoming months is to listen more carefully to your clients. Everybody has its own ideas. Everybody has its own ideas to provide new services for businesses, but also it might be a good opportunity to exchange your values, exchange your ideas, and come out with something new. So don't stick with your rigid boundaries. Be flexible, and maybe something new will come out of it. And at the end, I think everybody encountered it in some way. Human beings are, after all, social beings. So be sure to check on your friends, to check on your companies who you are co-working with, to just show them that you are a human and you need the contact. So I think that's it. That's the most important things we are right now facing, that actually we have to face in the upcoming future. So thank you very much for your attention. If you'd like to ask me in person, here are the contact details. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. You focused on benefits. I like this approach very much because I also believe that Even during the crisis, we can find some opportunities and some chances, and it could be better for our business for in the long term. Okay, our next speaker is Michał Zamęski, Warsaw production team. Hello. Hello, Michał. Okay, I can
Hello, can you
see
hear me?
you.
Hi.
Yes, now I can hear you. Michał started his career in film production in 2010. He worked both on production and advertising agency and co-founded Warsaw production team in 2015. Since then, he was working on marketing, for example, for Netflix and Red Bull, mostly focusing on digital video content. His first full-length documentary movie will premiere in July 2020. We are waiting for that, but first we are waiting for your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm really happy that I can be here with you. Unfortunately, not in person, but this is a COVID times we're living in. So let me just shortly say that, as Bartłomiej said, we founded our company with Sławek, my partner, 5 years ago. And from the very beginning, we were working on mostly digital content for, fortunately, big companies. 5 years ago, this was a time where Facebook started implementing Facebook videos formats such as boomerangs, carousels, etc. And we were invited for our first big project for Nestle. We did a series of short videos for Maggi and for Purina. We really played with the format. So it was the very beginning of it in Poland. Nobody really wanted to do it. First of all, low budgets, and then it was quite tricky because there were no guidance, not a lot of know-how how to proceed with that. So we put up to the task, we did it, and it allowed us to basically help Maggi and Purina gain really big sales increase. After these campaigns, both of the companies during the time had 20% of sales increase, and it was only digital campaign, only on Facebook. So for the small companies, starting companies, it's very important to be quite bold, quite brave, not to be afraid of innovative ways to show the story. And we did it, we succeeded. And later on, this led us to working, for example, for Netflix. At the beginning, we were working on regular digital campaigns, but once we gained trust and we started to understand each other's needs, we were invited for Little Black Mirror project, which was an advertising campaign for Black Mirror TV series, for which Netflix invited 4 Polish YouTubers to create short movie formats that will be aired on YouTube. So they presented us with the list of names. We supported them in all the production stages, from screenwriting to very final stages of post-production. And it launched 2 years ago. It gained massive success abroad. Vice ID, Taxi, Business Insider, every big media news wrote about it as a great success. So we were really proud of it because, you know, we did marketing campaign in a movie format. Everyone says that you need to do short movies, 30 seconds, 6 seconds. And we did movies that were around from 8 to 22 minutes. And it had really good engagement statistics. People were watching it through because we created engagement and engaging content for a brand. And I think this is actually the way for the future because brands cannot anymore just present their product. They need to build some kind of relationship with the customer, with their viewer. They need to tell a story. They need to also be a part of big actual conversations that is happening. And this was another project we did with them. A year later, we produced a 6-episode series hosted by Ania Rubik, about sex education. This was a format to promote the TV series Sex Education, which was also on Netflix. But the topic was hard because in Poland there is a very big problem with wider access to sexual education. Ania Rubik was a very brave, very independent person who is not afraid to speak about it. So she did. It was again massive success. We were helping her with all the stages of it, from screenwriting to selecting guests to post-production, animations, and promoting it on her YouTube channels. And again, we were mentioned in Noise, Vogue, which are very big outlets here in Poland. This cooperation lasts. We're working with them for 3 years now. The base for it is basically trust, dialogue. So they come with some ideas. We tell them what's possible, what's not, what will work in digital media, what won't. And that's the way, that the dialogue is the way to proceed with that. We also started working with Red Bull. And for Red Bull, first we did a campaign that was not a sales campaign. It was a Christmas greetings card. But we made it in a way that was very visually appealing for the viewers. We invited very famous Polish poet to write a story for that. And it led us to success, basically showing them that we are a partner for them to discussions about technology solutions, to talent research, and implementing their ideas into a movie language. So after that, after a year and a half, we were on the last stages of post-production for our first full-length documentary, which will, as Bartłomiej said, premiere in June, second part of June. So trust. On every project I presented you, we were working on Google Docs and Frame.io, which are softwares that allow us to work even when the client is not there, to communicate with all our team remotely. So when the COVID happened, when we were all locked down, it actually didn't change our way of work that much. We were able to keep all the production processes in place. Clients were able to review the next stages of post-production online using this Frame.io tool I just mentioned. We were budgeting, we were consulting everything using Google Docs, sharing scripts, putting notes on them. So I think in digital era that we're in right now, it's very important to be able to act quickly. You don't know what's going to happen. You need to be flexible and you need to react very quickly, which wasn't a surprise for us. As I said, we founded the company 5 years ago, and since then we were working on mostly digital content, so it was very quick reactions to what's happening. It's often that, we get a brief and the outcome is 1 week later. So in digital media, communication with the client is most important, and building the trust that will allow us to create great content. I think we are finally passing the time where these very short formats were the key players. It's much more important for a brand to build brand awareness, use brand heroes, and communicate with their customers not only about their sales targets, but also about company values. For example, last year we were invited by OOS to work with them on a over-tourism project. We did a movie about Amsterdam and the issues they are struggling with, which is over-tourism. Of course, COVID changed the situation a little bit, but it started, in our minds, it started some path we want to proceed, the path to help big companies communicate what are their values. For example, Unilever years ago started this project about becoming green, becoming zero emission. They are investing a lot of money into sustainability and being ecologically responsible. So big topics, it's what will be ahead of us in the next couple of years. Important topics such as equality, ecological things. So what I would suggest to everyone is to think really hard what are the values of the company you're creating or you're working for, and try to work on them, not only on sales levels, but also on more human aspect of it. From our side, as a producer, we're also always trying to be a partner for a company, either agency or the client himself who's contacting us. So we are supporting them on every stage. Budgeting, project management, which is of course our main topic, post-production coordination, which is very important. It's very accessible right now using the tools that are widely available for everyone. Talent research, which is very important to present matching director or DOP or actor that will support the brand. Creative support, which allows the companies to actually save money, because digital media showed us that you don't need that budgets. You don't need to build big arts because people will watch it on their phones, on their tablets. So the screen is really small. You need to find solutions and think on them once you create the script, that you don't have to build a whole street. You just need a couple of extras and a talent in front, and you can tell your story. This is our job also, to propose adequate technological solutions, because we all know now that we are not only doing 16:9 movie format, we're also doing square, 4.5. This is standard now. All the videos needs to be subtitled. This is basic thing, and we were implementing it years ago already. So I think what is really important is, first of all, be on time with the changes that are happening right now, and try to build a partnership relation with the agency, not just to respond to their brief, do the budget and do the production, but also ask questions, talk about it, find different solutions which might not be obvious at the very beginning, but at the end it will pay out. Also, don't be afraid to say no to a client, no to an agency, say no to a bad idea if you know it. Don't always say yes. Be brave, be bold, and at the end it will pay out. I think that's it. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you very much for this very inspiring presentation. I also believe that sometimes our client doesn't know what really matters, and sometimes they hire people to help to follow this strange path. Okay, thank you very much. Now I want to ask questions for all of you. There are a lot of inspiration, but first, maybe you want to comment something. Maybe you got some kind of remarks about different speech. Maybe you want to add something. Okay, so let me ask a bit more precisely. Let me start with Dobromir. You said something very important, that we got great danger because bots can ruin our trust, can ruin our society, some kind. But how can we survive? I think that we need some kind of verification, but it also means that we have to sacrifice our privacy. Do you believe that it is possible to fight against bots and keep our privacy at the same time? Is it possible?
Oh, you know, that's very, very, very difficult to be able to sustain both values. You know, actually, the discussion goes on in the European Parliament on many continents. I think there must be a compromise here. You know. On one hand, we are very much fighting for our privacy, and we are looking all the technologies that we observe now, you know, starting from browsers to, many GDPR or e-privacy regulations are actually focused on just protecting privacy of people. But on the other hand, when you have technologies related to bots, we need to cope with the latest trends. For instance, what about opt-out? I mean, can a troll or a bot have an opt-out when it's going to be marked by a system? So there are many, there are many difficult questions around this. It's a matter of culture, actually, and I think that the problem arises due to, I think some ways of using political correctness and individual freedoms in a rather skewed way. I think we should allow certain types of entities to investigate and to be able to look into our privacy, of course, under very well prepared regulations to really protect us against disinformation. There's simply no other way to do this.
Thank you very much. Now I got a question to Katarzyna. You know that we in Open Eyes Economy Movement, we believe that non-economic values can play a crucial role in modern economy. And let me be more specific. How this economic of values approach can make digital media better, and what is maybe more important, how can we convince people to follow this non-obvious, sometimes very difficult path?
In my opinion, how we convince them, I think the COVID convinced them already. And what we can see now is that the business model created or popularized in the space of Open Eyes Economy movement becomes much more popular. We can say simply that during the pandemic, a lot of companies went more open eyes, and they were willing to share their resources with people, with audience. I think what can convince companies to share, what can convince companies to be more open, to give something more, something for free, I guess the necessity, simply the bigger need, the crisis. It is the time when we feel that we have to do something more than very typical advertising activities, that we have to engage ourselves more. And from the idealistic point of view, it's great. Companies doing something good, giving their informations, their research, their movies, music, books, ebooks, or other kind of resources for free. We can see it as a paradise, as something which is great. But we have to also remember that it is profitable, that companies feel that other kind of marketing model appeared a few years ago with the climate crisis campaign, and companies have to change, not only because of their idealistic attitude, but because the consumers have changed. And to exist, to be this kind of company which is popular, which is liked, which has a big cycle of consumers willing to buy its products, company have to change. And in the next during the next Congress, we will talk about the right to development, the right to some kind of resources. And I can say that, for example, knowledge is this kind of resource. And the fact that, for example, Netflix shared his educational movies with the audience for free, I think that's the very good, this is the move in a very good direction. So making the long story short, I feel that COVID pandemic changed a lot, encouraged companies to share. I'm not sure if this tendency will be something more constant, but I'm sure that this new marketing model appeared was more visible than before during the pandemic crisis. So this is, I guess, the best answer I can give you for the question. I hope I wasn't especially unconcrete.
Thank you. It was very optimistic because it looks that this transition can be made bottom-up way, but not only forced by authority. We really believe that we don't have to force somebody to do something good, but the opportunities, the changes in a business can make this happen. Okay,
I think
got a
changes
question.
in the mind.
Yes.
I think just the changes in the mind of consumer. But
yes,
sorry
and
for
this is the
interrupting.
biggest power in the market, for sure, of course. And now I got a question for Mateusz. Mateusz, you mentioned that there is a Shake Digital Art Festival. This is not something typical. This is rather something unique. Could you tell us something more about this festival and how it happens, what changed during this coronavirus crisis?
Oh, of course. Well, so Shake Digital Art Festival is, we are co-organizing it with Wojciech Magierski and Piotr Płoch. We already had one festival, one edition last year with different name. We co-organized such a festival, and it had a name Artcore 2 years ago. Well, we're planning, our plan with this art festival is to basically shake the art with different from different perspectives. So we have guests from various sides of art, from 2D arts, from 3D arts, from game industry, from artists for publishing. For example, covers of music albums, as we had last year, for example. It was a very interesting speech. Also, we had a writer from one of the game company, and well, the main reason was that to fulfill kind of void of such lack of such events in Krakow, to give freedom for the people who are interested in art to come and basically mingle between themselves and talk about everything concerning art, but also to provide an opportunity to have networking sessions and to tweak a little bit or to peek behind the scenes of creating marvelous art or marvelous products as for example video games. Last year we had 2 sessions. We hosted 2 guests from the project Red, and it was really something unusual to see how they really wanted to share their knowledge, and they were answering the questions from various people, from very beginners to some professionals, and also they were able to, for example, pinpoint and give some hints on their even portfolios. So that's something that we are focusing on. We also have in the program session of workshops apart from the lectures. And in the end, in the afternoon, hopefully this year as well, we will have a networking in more unofficial way, namely in one of the spectacular, this kind of artistic interviews, namely in Havre. So I hope that if you're interested in, I strongly recommend you to come and talk and see what's going on in Krakow Technology Park. So I think I try to explain what's the shake is, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you very much. I hope that our audience will provide some questions and some interesting as well. Okay, and my next question is for Michał. As you know, our communication is faster and faster. People are impatient. Do you think that it is possible that we can build some kind of trust, we can establish some kind of relationship in these short forms, for example, in short movies, in this fast communication? Is it possible to build something more, or it just have to be vivid, viral, and fast? Is it possible to put some non-economic values to build something which is more permanent in this very fast communication?
I think yes. We have a lot of examples of movies of people doing something good, going viral. Every day you have hundreds of them, and so there is need for that. I think, of course, the movement needs to go from the company. They need to start doing something good, either for the environment or the community, so they can later talk about it, but it's already happening. And we can create a format based on what they are doing, showing how they are helping, what are their goals in next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And this will be engaging for people, because people really need hope nowadays. It doesn't have to be a stupid dancing movie. It can be something bigger. They will sit down, they will watch it, and they will think about it, because we are all worried about what's going to happen to all of us, what's the future is going to bring. So yeah, I would say, of course, there is a place for bigger formats, and there is a place to build a trust between a consumer and a company. It's already started to happen. Brands are getting involved in social aspects, ecological aspects of our lives, and they will keep on doing so, because consumers are getting more and more interested in this area. So it's a natural way for a company to also get involved.
It's very difficult for us, for university guys, because we got used to very long lectures and, a lot of words. And sometimes when you have to squeeze it into a very short form, it's really hard for academic people. But as you said, in your branch, it's possible and it happens. So we have to learn how to do that. Okay, my last question is the same for everybody. I need very short answers, let's say 30-second answers. Please describe the most non-obvious business activity you made. Something which maybe looked silly, but it turns out that it works. What kind of activity, what kind of action, what kind of business models, what kind of idea you treat as the most non-obvious, but something which was a success and something which really works? Let me start with Dobromir.
Okay, so I will get apart from my main presentation. So one of the things that works right now very well in the market research is virtuality. It's something that we have created as a side project for testing consumer behavior. And right now, since it's not possible to do so much testing and consumer interviews in shops, it appears that the virtual environment gains a lot of popularity and goes with a trend. So Right now, it became our, let's say, golden egg in the business, which was not so much obvious in the previous years. So the COVID-19 became an opportunity for us, both in disinformation area, which is of course a bad thing because it happens, but in the area of virtual worlds, virtual testing, it's also we are also gaining a lot of interest here. So this is a serious boost right now, a serious trend.
Thank you very much. Katarzyna, what was the best non-obvious shot?
I am a copywriter, so I can only say that writing is very unobvious business model. Living with from writing is very eccentric, I guess. But I can say about a model which is for me most surprising. I would like to say something about Patronite and about gaining money from fans which are just willing to pay. On the beginning, when I first met this kind of activities, I thought it's impossible, but now we can see that it is one of the most popular, one of the basic business models in the internet, the source of resources for a lot of artists, a lot of entertainers. So for me, it is amazing thing that people are ready to unite and to pay for good information, to pay for good fun, to pay for listening to someone's opinions. And from my point of view, this is the most amazing business model we can even imagine. When you create community with people who are willing to pay you for being yourself, or doing what is your passion and what is your idea to share with others. So for me, Patronite, but I don't have my account, and maybe someday I will start doing something, but now I'm only a person who writes.
That's a great example. Thank you very much. Mateusz, your turn.
Well, in our case, I think the most important thing to change was changing the view of how we see the open space we had. So we had basically an open space filled with computers, but well, we didn't have much luck with selling them in Krakow. I mean, selling places to co-work for artists. However, we changed this to another kind of model. So some of them went to a smaller room and serves right now successfully as a place for creating workshops in smaller groups, namely 8 to 10, and the other are rented outside for companies who are in need of them for their projects.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Michał, what is the most surprising thing?
I think for us it was actually a movie we did with Overtourism last year, with Open Ice Economy Summit, about Overtourism in Amsterdam, because it opened us a path and showed us that we can actually build socially engaged content. We're in talks with different companies now about creating similar in the idea formats, either programs or movies that are talking about some important issue that's in a community or in the environment, and showing their way to solve it and to deal with it. So that was that for us.
And now I want to say thank you very much for all my guests. Dobromir Ciaś, Edge NPD, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Katarzyna Kantor, Escadra Creative Agency, thank you.
Thank you very much for great conversation.
and Mateusz Mleczko, Film Studio Multilab. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Michał Zamęcki, Warsaw Production Team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, I want to say thank you very much for our audience. And two more things. First of all, I got an invitation for Małopolska entrepreneurs. First invitation is for companies from artificial intelligence branch. We would like to invite you for an economic mission to Austria. Our second invitation is for smart city sector. We got a possibility to send you for Smart City Expo in Barcelona. We can provide you both financial and organizational support. We are waiting for your application till 8 July 2012. More details you can find, of course, on our website, OpenAI's Economy Hub website. So take a look. We really want to encourage you to do something more, to do something abroad. And of course, we want to invite people from the other regions, from other countries to invest, to take a look at Małopolska region, because this is beautiful and very interesting region. We got a lot of strong points. We got some kind of competitive advantage, and we want to show you that in our short movie. This is the last part of this first blog of our conference. After this movie, we got a little intermission, and after that, we come back afternoon, 1 p.m. There is the second part of this conference. I just want to say goodbye, and let's present our movie. Bartłomiej Biga, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I hope we will meet again this afternoon, first, just after 1 p.m. So the movie, and see you soon.
Małopolska is strategically located in Central and Eastern Europe. What does it have to offer, and is it worth investing here? Let's look at the facts. Most importantly, it's easy to get here. Małopolska has excellent road, rail and air links with the rest of the country and the world beyond. Krakow's airport is the second largest in Poland in terms of passenger numbers. It's highly popular among tourists and entrepreneurs, whose numbers are constantly rising year after year. By 2023, Małopolska will have spent €568.63 million on developing its transport infrastructure, including its railways. Małopolska is open for investment and business-friendly. Every year, around 10,000 new businesses come to the voivodeship, including many in the rapidly growing technology startup sector. The region's innovative economy is clearly evident in the number of patent applications received, which has topped 1,000 in the last few years and is still growing. Małopolska enjoys steady GDP growth, which is having a positive impact on the wealth of its population and is helping drive the local economy. The development of Małopolska and entrepreneurship in the region would not be possible without EU funding. Małopolska has received in excess of €2.87 billion in funding for development purposes in the years 2014 to 2020. EU and regional funds are helping support businesses, especially in areas of regional smart specialization. The investment zone and numerous economic activity zones operate with the needs of entrepreneurs in mind. Companies operating in them have to date created close to 30,000 jobs. There are over 50 economic activity zones in Małopolska. Both well-known Polish and international firms have successfully established themselves here. Małopolska not only attracts Polish investors, the number of companies with foreign capital is also increasing each year, which is not surprising given the excellent conditions for growth and the wide range of investment incentives available. Some of the world's biggest brands have chosen the region for their headquarters. Direct foreign investment was up by more than 30% in 2016 in relation to the previous year. This was the biggest increase noted by any region in Poland. As production has risen, so too has the value of exported goods. From €5.7 billion in 2010 up to almost €9 billion 6 years later. The region's exports are dominated by information and communication technology, chemicals, production of machinery and equipment. Polish and foreign businesses also appreciate the talent pool that Małopolska has to offer. It is the second biggest academic centre in the country. Some 29 institutions of higher learning are located here, attended by close to 170,000 students. It's also a great place to live. The close proximity of art and culture and the vast range of leisure activities on offer make this an exceptional region. There are almost 800,000 hectares of national parks, 14 UNESCO-class heritage sites, as well as picturesque hiking trails, ski routes, and a network of bike paths that is constantly being expanded. This all translates into steadily rising tourist numbers. Małopolska is an outstanding region in which tradition, history, and culture go hand in hand with innovation and new technology. This is a wonderful place to live and do business in. Małopolska. It's worth it.